Hello, Fearless Schools Podcast family and friends. Hey, do you hear that? That's the sound of the podcast clock, and it's telling us that it's time to settle in and settle back for another fabulous Fearless Schools Podcast episode. It's true. No matter what you're doing, grocery shopping, driving to the schoolhouse, walking the dog, jogging around the block, scratching stuff, whatever it is. It's me, Dr. Drew Tomlin, and golly, I'm glad that you're doing whatever it is with this podcast in your ears. You know what? In fact, you know what? It's not just me who's glad. Everyone on the entire Creative Leadership Solutions crew is smiling ear to ear and saying, gee willikers, thanks. And check us out at www.creativeleadership.net. You know, it's almost like they're right here with us. Aw. You know who else is here right with us? It's the one and only Director of Professional Learning from CLS. It's Dr. Ann McCarty. What's up, Dr. Ann?
Always, Drew, great guests, but this is a little blast from my past. So we get to talk to one of the foremost leaders in the state of Virginia and get to hear a little bit about his story today. And I can't wait to catch up and see what he's been up to.
Yeah, and I don't know him. I don't know him at all, so we caught up a little bit. But you know what? I'm super excited. So without further ado, as they say, our special guest is an uncommon educational leader, all the way from the Commonwealth of Virginia. So let's learn just a little bit about him before we get to our questions. So today's guest didn't just arrive on the educational landscape yesterday, and didn't just write his educational philosophy on the back of a napkin this morning. No way. So with over 15 years of experience, his work prioritizes innovation, strategic planning, and collaboration to prepare students for 21st century careers and opportunities. He's an expert in lots of areas, including change management, community engagement, diversity and inclusion, and strategic partnership development. All right, listen, he's also committed to expanding access to career-ready pathways, including trades, apprenticeships, and military readiness programs, while also promoting professional learning and impactful educational strategies. Oh my goodness. He wants to foster inclusive and future-ready educational systems and enable students to thrive in a global and dynamic workforce. He's been a teacher, an administrator, a technology integration specialist, and director, and much more. I don't know about you, but it sounds like a lot more for just one person can handle, but he's handling it, and more than just that handling, he's thriving and not just surviving. We can't wait to talk all about it. He's putting the super into superintendent. It's the Deputy Superintendent for Innovation, Student Pathways, and Opportunities at the Virginia Department of Education. It's Mr. DeWayne McClary. How's it going, Mr. McClary?
Thank you, Drew. I need to pay you and take you everywhere.
I'm your hype man.
You know what? I might call you back to do that for my kids because, you know, when I walk in, they're like, oh, it's just dad. Or my wife is like, take out the trash.
Hey, yep, same here. Awesome. Thank you, Al. Thank you so much for joining us. And tell your family, hey, listen, tip of the cap to you because, you know, you're doing lots of special things, right? And you know what? Speaking of special things, we all know that special people need special food to keep them going. So we always like to ask, what is your food in terms of educational challenge as well as triumph?
And I will say for times of challenge is butter pecan ice cream.
Oh.
So my grandmother, God rest her soul, she would always have butter pecan ice cream in her refrigerator, no matter the season. Whenever I visit her, we would eat ice cream. So for me, whenever there's a challenge, that's my comfort. It has given me a lot of pounds. But hey, you know, we'll figure that out.
Exactly.
In times of triumph, I treat myself to a nice upscale restaurant. So, you know, a Brazilian restaurant or, you know, Eddie V's or whatever. I treat myself intentionally. And then I say for both of those, my wife is very intentional about self-care. So we do, you know, at least once a month, we do a couple massages. So we just don't wait for the challenges or triumphs. And most time I'm asleep within the first 10 minutes.
I mean, hey, well, because apparently since I saw you last, you haven't slept based on your introduction.
No.
So that makes sense.
Exactly.
So I want to know, when you go to those fancy restaurants, what do you order?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's the question.
I'm a steak and potatoes kind of person. Or however, if you go to, you know, Eddie V's or someplace, the scallops are like spot on. Scallops, and that's it for me. And the broccolini, I have to have that.
Do you ever mix it up, do a little surf and turf, do a little steak with a little seafood?
I'm a huge seafood person too, so surf and turf is always, my second go-to. So, give
Nice.
me a good lobster tail with some hot butter, and that's all I want.
Now, would it be over the top or would it be just perfect if somehow on the dessert menu and you still had room for butter pecan ice cream?
Uh, that with a slice of pound cake,
Oh,
That's why it puts on the pound.
warm pound cake.
See what I did, George?
warm pound. I see what you did.
And since you see me, it's so funny. I just bought a treadmill and a Peloton, so I'm gonna be slim and trim by summer.
It's getting the beach body.
There you go. Well, but you mentioned the important self-care. Like that is so important, and it should be a real priority in our lives. We all work hard, educational leaders, whether you're at the schoolhouse or on the road or whatever you're doing, working for the Department of Education. And it can't be something that's just done at a whimsy. Like you have to kind of, like you said, you have to plan it out. How important is that, like self-care to you maintaining yourself, and what message would you send educational leaders about self-care? Let's get into that.
Yeah, self-care is so important because if you don't care for yourself, how do you care for others? If
Mm-hmm.
you're not healthy, how are you ensuring that the health of others is okay? And I think as a leader, I think we're held to a different standard, a higher calling, because we are the leaders of leading individuals. So we also have to set that precedent. We have to also set that example, because we always see people under us that, take on too much or don't delegate and just, burn out quickly. So by example, I intentionally, take time for myself, make sure that my direct reports take time for themselves and also the team, and don't feel like, you're selfish for taking care of yourself, and, taking time off, when it's not a holiday or, when it's not your birthday. No, that's what the days are for. Be intentional about it. So I feel like whenever there's a great accomplishment, you should get at least a day off or two. Even if there's a great defeat, maybe just one day off because you got to come back and correct.
Get your butter pecan ice cream and come on back.
Exactly, come on back. But I do think, having those big sprints or of work, like you got to take a step back to also reflect. And that takes time.
Yeah, it's interesting because I really appreciate those words of wisdom, because I think in our salad days, in those younger days, it was kind of like a badge of honor to say like, oh, I stayed up all night and I, never took a day, and, I worked so hard. Exactly, and like, but it's still about you getting the work. You still are going to get the work done. Maybe you just get it done better or more efficiently. Like your concept of time is just better. Anyways, wow. So going back, I'm going to rewind the tape just a little bit. Back to who you were as a student. So what kind of a student were you, and who perhaps or what even helped you to learn?
So funny. Well, I was a perfect student.
Oh yes.
I would say I was a individual who was very quiet, but sneaky. So my mom was an educator. She taught that. So from elementary, from pre-K all the way to third grade, I was at the same school she was at. So I couldn't really do much. But I will tell you, a lot of people don't notice about me. My second grade year, I failed second grade. Okay. I had A's and B's in all subjects except reading. And I had at that time, I was like right on the cusp, 1 point away from an F. Wow. And so my second grade teacher, her name is Lorraine Bradley. I bother her all the time, tell her she's the reason I failed, but we go back and forth. She's like, no, it's not me, it was you. But she brought my mother down. I remember it was the last week of school. She brought my mother down, told me to wait after school. She told my mom, hey, he's 1 point away from getting a D. I can give it to him because I know you, but I just wanted to let you know. So my mom left the second grade classroom. While I'm sitting there, walked down the hall to the third grade classroom, got the reading book, brought it back to me, and sat it in front of me and said, read.
Oh, wow.
I struggled. She looked at me, looked at Ms. Bradley. He'll be back in the second grade.
Oh, wow.
And so,
Talk about a performance-based assessment. That
and,
is like right
I
there.
know,
Woo!
and knows me. I'm kind of a tall guy.
He is
I've
tall.
always been tall. I was the tallest, because I stayed back a year. I was the tallest thing in the line. I was taller than the teacher. So it was embarrassing. But I will tell you, since then, from that day on, that year on, I was on superintendent's honor roll. I had A's, B's throughout my whole career in my pre-K, this 12th grade year. I was on it because I knew my mother was not playing.
Yeah. So how did that early experience, do you still, obviously you remember that, it's a very salient memory.
Yeah.
Do you carry that with you in the work that you do? Does it come up or does it even shape like how you look at data, like, or information? Because that was an immediate data point.
I mean, no questions asked. I think my early years showed me the power of great school experience, and what happens when students don't get the support they deserve. Those experiences also pushed me to become a leader who uses research to kind of make real change for students. It taught me to kind of look closely at what helps students feel seen, challenged, and supported, and also to use those insights to kind of guide teams, to guide and shape discussions, and also create learning environments where every child has a chance to thrive, and also making sure that they don't fall through the cracks and the gaps. I think that's, for me, has been kind of what is my passion as kind of an educational researcher moving forward from that experience.
I love that you said students are seen, challenged, and supported. Sometimes I feel like we do some of those well, or one of those, or two of those well, but to do all three is really, really tough on the day-to-day in the schoolhouse. So I applaud you for having that. And in fact, I think that might be, and Ann, you could speak to this. I think that the tagline, one of the taglines for Mr. McClary is, what was it? It's
do right by students.
Do right by students, right? Not left, not center, but you're gonna go the right. Anyways, yeah, do right by students. Thank you. It's a complicated one. Listen, I'm pretty shallow waters, so you gotta, reinforce things for me. So yeah, go to that. Do right by students. Why is that something that is so important that it's that line?
So for me, when you talk about the responsibility to do right by students, is for me, it's more than just a slogan. It's a conviction that kind of shaped my own experience, and by the countless young people I've had the privilege to serve. I think early in my career, I saw a single opportunity, I saw a single caring adult, or a single barrier could kind of remove, transform a student's trajectory. And I also saw that how systems, intentionally or not, can stand in the way of a child's potential. And so that's what's inspired this commitment, that the belief that every student deserves access, to deserve support, deserve a fair chance to succeed. And I think today, in my role in the Virginia Department of Education, that belief kind of guides everything that I do. It shapes the questions that I ask. It shapes the policies that I push. It's and the partnerships that we build, and the way that we show our schools and communities, what's best for kids. And so, doing right by students means expanding, pathways to help students discover who they are and who they can become. And it means ensuring that every decision we make at the state level reflects what students most need, not what's easiest, and not what's traditional, but what is right.
There you go. There you go. A couple of things that I want to camp out on that. First of all, I applaud your use of the collective pronoun we. Because it is about what we do. It's not just about what one person does. Yes, you are the director, but you have, a lot of people on your team that you work with. And then I also want to, and this is something that we shared off camera or off air beforehand, is that you brought technology into your school as a young teacher. And I think that's an interesting, and I want you to tell that story a little bit, because I think that also kind of shakes the belief that that it has to come from someone who's a veteran teacher or someone more seasoned or whatever like that. Can you share that a little bit? You were a young teacher, and then you saw a need, and then what happened?
Yeah. I'll even back up a little further.
Nice. Okay, cool.
It all started during my third grade year. At the end of school, I would go to the library because my mom was either, she was one of the lead teachers. She'd be coaching other teachers or whatever. And I would go in the library and sit with, at that time, her name was Miss Fitz. She just recently passed away. She was like 100+ years old. But she had those old Macintosh, the white ones, you remember?
Oh,
in
yeah.
the back. And they should just put them in the back, because they were broken. And I would go back there and it's like, Miss Fitz, what's this? She was like, oh, those are the ones with either broken keys or the floppy disk thing won't work. And I was like, can I fix it?
No
She's
way.
like, sure. So I would go back there and tinker with it, fix it. And then when we started fixing them, she started developing where the kids could take them home. So they were checking out those big
Apple IIe's, right?
Right.
Taking them home.
Can't put that in a backpack.
You playing Oregon Trail and all that kind of stuff. So that's where it started for me.
Wow.
That's where technology became impactful. Fast forward to my first year of teaching, I went back and taught at the same middle school that I went to. So I was kind of the youngest person there. And I taught social studies, 8th grade. I was taught in a single gender classroom. So I taught all boys, which was interesting. Because I was the youngest person, I started saying, hey, we need technology. And so they bought me a Promethean board. And then later I started working with the Title I coordinator. They started buying every core content teacher a Promethean board. And I was also the trainer, of course.
Of course you were.
Those teachers. And then I said, well, hey, we should get some computers in here for the kids. And so just outside of the computer lab, like within the classroom. So we started getting laptops for kids. At that time, they were big, bulky, heavy laptops. And so I started one-to-one within my classroom, and then it expanded to the school and then eventually the district. And so that's kind of where EdTech became really a part of just my DNA. And I saw the power of it. But what I will say, technology will never replace a good teacher. If anything, technology, if you were a bad teacher before technology will even show it up even worse. So it's all about the pedagogy and the training and the entrepreneurship, but also just the power that the teacher has, and who they are, that makes the technology work and enables the opportunity for students. It's not the technology. It's still the teacher.
Yeah, it's the teacher. And to go back to that third grade experience, someone who let you just play and experiment with stuff, kind of play in the sandbox a little bit. Do you think how important is that now? Like sometimes I think of people give technology they put it along with rigor, they put it along with very linear benchmarks. But how important is just play to the growth of innovation?
I think that's important. I think that even goes to kind of the work that I'm doing now. And for me, I always say this to my team, our mission is very clear. Opportunity belongs to every student. And I think what that does is it clearly focuses on pathways to possibilities where we're looking at Virginia, how do we work to expand meaningful opportunities for every student, which could include, opportunities for hands-on entrepreneurship that help kids identify their strengths, but also explore their interests early on and not have to wait till college and have to change your major 4 times. Also,
that sounds like a pain point.
That costs parents money. And also access and real opportunities for their future. So that includes like advanced coursework, that includes career and technical education, that includes apprenticeships, that includes innovative community kind of partnerships, and now the growing focus on AI. So I think we are working to ensure that every student, every teacher, every school leader, every parent understands how to use AI responsibly and creatively, so that every student can learn to prepare for a future where AI is a part of it. So thinking, going back to that, when you think about play and tinkering. Like
Right.
that's what it is. We just call it something different.
Exactly.
So Dwayne, since you brought up AI, we've kind of AI's come up in all of our interviews in the past, I don't know, 6 months.
Yep.
So anything like raising an eyebrow about AI for you, or where is it taking us? How are you reacting in A, as a former tech person, and B, in your position?
Yeah, I think we sometimes in education we immediately put barriers on things instead of looking at the possibility. I think we're in a different place though, just from the great work that the team has done before I arrived, and now what we're doing to move forward. So I think the educational best practice that kind of has, raised a few eyebrows across the country and across the world has, yet providing incredible, and powerful opportunity is the integration of AI as a co-teacher in the classroom. And I think, not as a replacement for educators, but as a tool that kind of can help personalize learning, can kind of accelerate feedback, but also give students space to think, create, and problem solve. I think it also, like I said, it can do those mundane things that, teachers have to do, but ultimately give students more time to be in front and supporting kids directly. I think that's what AI can help support. So some folks hear that the immediate worry about, equity, accuracy or ethics, and those concerns are real. But when you implement it thoughtfully with guardrails and strong digital literacy integration, I think AI really becomes a force multiplier for great teaching. Remember, it goes back to the teacher. It's the teachers are not going to be replaced, and they are the center of this equation. And it helps, I think, students, kind of enable kids to kind of now draft ideas in a different way. Maybe, students that have, IEPs, maybe give them some prompts of here are some things you could think about, or even, check for understanding and exploring more context topics, or even rehearsing, career pathways. I think it frees up the teacher to focus more on that deep instruction, relationship, and kind of human touch point that are part of education that no tool can touch. And so, yes, I think that raises an eyebrow for me, but also I think it could raise outcomes as well.
Raising eyebrows and raising outcomes. Oh my goodness gracious! Rarely do those happen at the same time. Usually it's a raising eyebrow, like but it's also raising outcomes. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
now I can tell you there are two more that on the other side.
Yes.
Raises my eyebrow in the opposite way.
Are there, like, you gave positive eyebrows? I'm like, where are the caution? Not negative. The happy ones.
Right. Yeah, go for it.
Rote memorization. Like, for me, that's a learning technique that focuses on recalling facts, kind of repetition, rather than fully understanding the context. And so I think it fails to understand like the deep understanding or comprehension of material. And it sometimes is quickly forgotten after the assessment or whatever it needs to happen. So, in limited, it's like the facts are often harder to apply in real world scenarios. So I think that rote memorization, it's a quick way to kind of get to that test of what you need to get done, but we need to understand contexts in a deeper way that is kind of real world connection, so that kids can understand how I can utilize this in a real life experience. That's one. The other one, computer labs.
Computer labs.
Yes. Yeah. When I walk into school, I see a computer lab and go.
Now, why is a computer lab such a turnoff for you? Why is it such a?
You got kids for me, it's more of like putting kids in a row is more of a remediation space, not really looking at, the real power of having students create artifacts of learning that kind of shows what they're doing. It keeps them honed in and kind of in that, I feel like that industrial type lines and rows where
say I've walked into schools in the past year or two and I see Adobe labs. Like, I'm totally fine with those, where the kids
Those
are
I'm fine
doing.
because you're creating
But let's be
things.
clear that there's a difference between
There's a
a
difference.
computer lab that's all the Adobe fun stuff, or like I've got the one school I'm working with, they have like a drone lab, but there's computers in there because they're programming drones and stuff like that. High Point Career Academy in Ohio.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Totally different. But if you got those kids just in there doing remediation, like that bugs me.
Right. Plus, it sends the message that technology is something that's only limited to this one time and space. Where I think in your position and your ethos, it really should be connected to everything that we do. To, again, like you said, provide more opportunities, make it hands-on, accentuate and amplify those pathways and that access. Right. So yeah, I can see how a computer lab would be minimizing the impact of technology and, like you said, making it more of a remedial tool. Yes. So it's like having a good butter pecan, but then you put it in a real tiny cup. And you say, oh, it can only exist in this little tiny cup and with a little tiny spoon and only at this specific time. Right? Am I making a stretch there?
That's true.
Or leaving it out too long. It's mushy. I don't like
it. It's messy.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Okay. Hey, so obviously you talked about innovation and how educational leaders, it sounds like, what they need to do to build and maintain and amplify innovation in their schools. Anything else that they can do to amplify innovation that comes to mind, or anything else that they need some practices to avoid, educational leaders on the day-to-day in their buildings? Anything else, either to, yes, continue to do, or nope, please stop doing that?
I think it's important that we ultimately understand who are the end users of everything that we do, the students. I feel like student voice is sometimes left out of the equation. When we're thinking of, innovation, we're designing something for, kids, or we're designing this for them, but they have no voice in the process. So I think bringing students into an understanding, really assessing them, like what's working, what's not, ultimately asking ourselves the question, what problem are we trying to solve? I think a lot of times when we see innovation, we just jump at it and try something new. But what the question should be, what problem are we trying to solve? And hopefully that's with looking at data and informed instruction, and analyzing the data that you have, but ultimately bringing kids to the table and having them help you design this process or design it for you completely.
Yeah, if we're going to use data to build programs and practices, then student voice is a data point that we need to find value in. So whether it's anecdotal and qualitative, or you actually quantify their voice, that's really super cool. Speaking of things that are maybe sometimes hard to quantify, and that is the superpowers, right? So what would you say are, with all this work that you do, what would you say are your own superpowers, or as one guest called them, super habits, powers that help you do your own work? And then, of course, I'll ask the other question on the other side. Superpowers.
It's not just one. I think it's a combination of a few that kind of make me who I am, my superpowers. I would say first, my biggest superpower is the ability to see possibility where others might see limitations.
Nice.
So whether it's in a student or school or a system, I feel like I'm wired to kind of look for what could be rather than what always has been. And I think that mindset kind of helps fuel the work we're doing in Virginia to kind of expand pathways, make AI accessible, and also ensuring that every learner kind of has a real shot at success. I think my second that kind of goes with that is kind of connecting people and ideas. So I love bringing, educators, industry leaders, community students into the same conversation. So when we align around a shared purpose, the innovation happens faster and even more with heart. And I think the ability to kind of build coalition and to create momentum is a big part of how I lead in everything that I've done, and even now at the state level. And my last one I would say is that kind of is like the fourth leg to that the third leg to that work is kind of considering, that superpower is staying grounded in student experiences. I think I've lost sight of who this work is for or who I needed when I was in school. Mm-hmm. And so every policy, every initiative, every partnership we design it through the lens of, does this open doors for students? Does this make learning more meaningful and more fair? And that compass kind of keeps me centered.
Wow.
Well, that was actually going to be kind of like one of my questions, when you went from school to state, what the biggest difference is, but because I know there are differences, right? But staying grounded in that, I just opened up the can. You don't have to answer that.
No, I will answer that. The biggest struggle was going from doing to now, because in the school system, you just do it. Like, we just want to get this done. State level, it's all policy. It's a little more methodical, a little more, it's not as fast paced as I would like it. So I struggle with that. But it's really policy work, like understanding the policy and making the policy work for divisions. I also think within the state of Virginia, we have so many, policy procedures and regs that give a lot of divisions power don't even know that they have. And so the same way that we unpack standards for teachers and students, I'm now unpacking regulations and policies for division leaders. We recently did a webinar series on seat time flexibility to help them understand the power that they have. You just have to notify us. You don't have to get our approval. Like, it's like helping unpack and getting the division leaders to understand that. And so we're unpacking those policies, we're unpacking those regulations for division leaders and school leaders so that they understand, here is what, is required by law, but also here are the things that you can do within that law. Wow. Here's the floor. So we're trying to ensure that we're developing a floor and not a ceiling for people.
That's almost like a fourth superpower, so you've got the seeing the possibilities, connecting people, staying grounded in student experience, and being able to navigate all of that both at the school level as well as the policy state level. Like, that's not easy work. Oh my goodness. And then I think about too the complexity when you think about innovation and technology, and this isn't unique to Virginia, but that you've got rural entities, you've got urban entities, suburban entities. Like, how do you talk about technology with one voice to all those different audiences? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so I think ultimately looking at data, being informed, understanding the needs, trying to see what are the trend lines through lines across all regions. Because as you said, like, we have Northern Virginia, then you have, the most western part of Virginia, then you have those down in the, Richmond area, then you have those way out by, Portsmouth, Hampton. Like, it's totally different. There are 8 regions superintendent regions within the state of Virginia, and they all different. They all have different needs. Right. And so I think it's important that we set a standard, but not a ceiling. There's a floor, but not a ceiling. This is the standard that we have for the state of Virginia for all of our students. We expect you to go above that, not below it. But we are not putting any limitations on you when it gets to how high you can go. So I think that's important to be able to meet the needs of all of our divisions, because they're all in different spaces. And even within a division, schools are all in different spaces. So how do we ensure that we create a standard in ensuring that we're providing the right resources and the right training so that educators can meet those standards, I think is important.
There you go. So thank you for being so open about your superpowers. Because definitely those help you do your work. So got to ask the other side of that coin. Is there a kryptonite for DeWayne McClary?
Computer labs, apparently.
I'm going in. I'm gonna unplug all of them. For me, I am impatient. Sometimes when systems that move too slow, that is my kryptonite. It eats at me every day because I'm like, I just want to move faster, because ultimately these kids don't have time to wait.
That is true.
Like they don't have time to wait. And so when students need change now, I want to fix everything at once. And the reality is that systems, especially large ones, don't always move at that pace of my urgency or even our urgency. And so I've had to learn how to balance kind of vision, strategy, and passion with patience. So without losing, kind of the fire and desire that drives the work in the first place. So at the end of the day, my superpower and my kryptonite kind of live side by side. And they remind me that the work is human, it's complex, right, and deeply worth doing because our students deserve nothing.
That is true. And so it's almost like, but it's hard though. When you see the possibilities and you see a need and you feel the urgency of that, how do you pause when there are possibilities that need to be managed? Anyway, or just put out there. Oh my goodness gracious.
You got to. And then you see these gray hair, they pop up.
Hey, those are service stripes. Service stripes. That's what that is. As someone who also, man, has that salt on the muzzle, as they say, it's well earned and well deserved. Hey, all right, so we want to conclude with a now famous or infamous Fast Five. You ready? Okay. Just we're gonna see where your mind's at on each of these. This is the Fearless Schools podcast, kind of like a Rorschach test. We're gonna put it out there and just see. Fast Five. Ready? Favorite historical figure.
Favorite historical figure, Martin Luther King.
Okay. Favorite book, either as a kid or now, or what you got? What you reading?
Black Like Me by John Griffin.
Got it. First concert.
First concert ever. My wife took me to the Beyonce concert when it was in DC. The first one. I can't remember what the first one was. See, I'm not a big fan, but it was interesting.
Okay, so you're not a member of the Beehive.
I better not say that publicly. Get attacked. Yes.
Yes, you are. Good answer. Okay, well then, best concert besides the Beyonce concert.
Best concert, Maverick City, the gospel concert, best concert ever.
Nice. And then favorite trip to take, either real or fictional.
Oh, favorite trip to take, Disney. So my wife is a huge Disney fan. Okay. We went to Disney for our honeymoon.
Wow,
and
nice.
Since we've had kids, we've gone to Disney every year, except for the years of COVID. Just recently got back from Disney for celebrating her birthday 2 weeks ago. Okay. Did the drink around the world in Epcot. Had a great time with friends. Have done Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Paris. We want to do Tokyo, and I think there's another. But we're huge Disney fans. So any trip to Disney is ours.
Any trip to Disney. If there was a Disney character that you could eat a fancy dinner with, you sometimes in a time of triumph treat yourself with a fancy meal plus a Disney character. Who would that Disney character be?
Funny story, quick story. Pinocchio.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Let me tell you what happened. I was walking through Disney. We were just walking in Disney World. As soon as you come in, you come down the main, I guess the road, you see the castle. Was standing taking pictures. I'm looking at Pinocchio, showing my son, look at Pinocchio. And I tripped and fell across the curb. Planet face first. Pinocchio out of nowhere looks at me and goes,
and laughed at you.
And laughed at me.
Dude,
I need to have a dinner with Pinocchio. I'm gonna give a piece of my mind. So my family would never let me live that down.
Oh my gosh! And there's some like security footage at Disney World. Like, okay, we're gonna save this one.
Sure.
You're playing on reel somewhere in the background.
Exactly. Oh,
luckily at that time TikTok was not around, so I was so happy.
Went from the Magic Kingdom to the Tragic Kingdom real quick. But you made his day. That costume, that guy from Pinocchio, he told the rest of the cast members, "Hey, wait till you get a load of this." Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, hey, thank you, DeWayne McClary, for joining us on this edition of the Fearless Schools podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, and to my good friend Ann. Good to see you again. We see
to
each
see
other
you
on the
too.
road.
There you go. Listen, our listeners were pedaling their educational bicycles furiously and looking for a nice spot just to, coast a little bit, stand up on the handlebars, enjoy some wisdom, some wit, and some whimsy. And I believe they found all of that thanks to you, sir. So thank you. And Fearless Schools listeners, you did it too. You took time out of your listening lives to check out another Fearless Schools podcast brought to you by Creative Leadership Solutions. And you should be proud of yourself. As always, pat yourself on the back. Go to www.creativeleadership.net and then subscribe to and, share this podcast with anyone and everywhere and everybody that you know, right? Friends, frenemies, email acquaintances, family, pets, wherever, whenever you want to. I'm Dr. Drew Tomlin, host of Your Fearless Schools podcast, wishing you well and saying stay fearless on the bright road ahead. Thanks again, DeWayne.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, DeWayne.